Hi everyone, I welcome you all once again to this discussion forum on concept of drug discovery with Dr. Arun Kumar Gupta. So in this discussion forum, we are discussing about on various aspects of drug discovery process. In this in my previous discussion, we have discussed about the pre-filtering process. So in continuation of this pre-filtering process, I welcome once again Dr. Arun Kumar Gupta to give an insight on the various aspects of this pre-filtering process. So, sir, I welcome you once again to this show. So, can you give an elaborated idea about the pre-filtering and especially about the pharmacokinetic prediction of this pre-filtering process, sir?
Yeah, Hari, that is the, I think in last lecture we started the pre-filtering aspect of the virtual screening, and in that we consider few parameters that is related with the Lipinski rule of 5. But apart from that, still some considerations are remain. We consider the polar surface area. Apart from that, we also consider the rotatable bonds, number of rotatable bonds which is present in the molecule, as well as there is the ring system which may be present in a many numbers, and it may be heterocyclic or it may be the simple aromatic ring system. But apart from that, there is some other filtrations aspects are there, so we must consider them in the free filtrations so that our success rate is increased, as well as the chances of failure in the later phase also decrease. So by this pre-filtration we can improve the success as well as try to reduce the cost of the invention, which I already told it is having a cost near about $1.5 billion. But if we do the things in a proper manner in the pre-filtrations, then in the failure which occur in the later phase, like if it is a fail in the phase 1 or phase 2 or phase 3, then we need to go for the backup data and our cost is increasing. But if we screen the things in an early level, then definitely the failure is decreased and cost is somehow also decreases. So if you look for the pre-filtration, the another aspect that is the pharmacokinetic predictions. What does means of pharmacokinetic predictions? Pharmacokinetic predictions basically related with the absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretions. So ultimately, if we design some molecules and it gives the potent activity against a specific target, but later on, if they are unable to enter into the biological system, then there is no mean of such molecules. So definitely for that we need to look for the absorption parameter, and for that absorption parameter there is definitely the need to go for the LACP prediction type of thing or aqueous solubility prediction type of things. So ultimately we just consider this aqueous solubility parameter, that is log S, in the pre-filtration, so that the compound can be able to absorb out in the biological system. Apart from that, the another thing which will be also considered, that is the metabolism of the drug, or that molecule what we identify through our screening protocols. But if they have the certain type of group which can be easily metabolized in the biological system, then they have very short half-life. Like if some hydroxy groups are there, are susceptible area which may be easily undergo for oxidation in the phase 1 transformations, then they can easily convert into a such type of moieties which are easily go for the conjugation in the phase 2. So in that case the half-life of the drug is reduces. So what type of half-life we are looking for? According to that, we just go for the filtrations. So apart from that, the certain other reactive groups is also there. So we also go for that. But this reactive group basically responsible for different type of toxicity. If we look for here the CYP toxicity, that is called cytochrome P450 activity. So sometimes some compound are able to activate this cytochrome P450 enzymes, and sometimes some compound are able to inhibit this cytochrome P450 enzymes. So according to that, nowadays we are looking for this consideration because so many times the drug-drug interactions maybe take place if the cytochrome P450 enzyme is activated, which may cause the activation of the metabolic rate, or suppose it is inhibited because maximum drugs are metabolized in biological system near about 70 to 80% by cytochrome P450. So some drug, if it is activated this enzyme, then they enhance the metabolic rate. But if it is inhibited the cytochrome P450, means the drug is retained in the biological system for a longer duration. So in that case, definitely toxicity effect may be precipitated out. So ultimately we look for the cytochrome P450 activity predictions, and if the compound is come under that category, then definitely we drop that compounds. And apart from that, another basic enzyme which are commonly inhibited by the ligands are this type of molecule that is called human ether A GOGO related gene, that is called hERG activity. And this hERG activity is basically related with the cardiovascular issues, or say potassium channel blocker activity. So ultimately this cardiovascular toxicity might be possible, like that in case of the, if you look one example here, that is the COX-2 inhibitors. COX-2 inhibitors is basically withdraw from the market in the later phase due to their hERG toxicity or the cardiovascular toxicity. Although these drugs are deviated from their conventional toxicity, which may be occurred due to conventional NSAIDs like GI toxicity, etc. But this COX-2 inhibitor is having a basically introduced some new type of toxicity, that is the cardiovascular toxicity. And in the later phase, we are withdrawing the drug from the market after the 1 or 2 year of the marketing. So that is again somehow affect the industry, or somehow affect the pharmaceutical sector, because they already invest a lot in the search of this COX-2 inhibitor. So if for that COX-2 inhibitor in the early stage, if they go for the hERG predictions, then this later failure might not be occur. So definitely we go for this hERG activity predictions by means of our predictive tools. And if they are giving the hERG activity at some specific cutoff, each industry having their own cutoff, some are considered might be 30 micromole, some might be considered on 50 micromole. So according to that, they drop out that type of molecule. So definitely this consideration may be taken care when we go for the pre-filtration of this corporate library, or the available market library, or the available compound, which are near about 28 to 29 million compounds in the world. And later on, the another thing which come in the picture, that is related with the cytotoxicity, because there so many compounds are cytotoxic in nature, and in later phase we can withdraw that from the market. So we must look for this cytotoxicity, or sometimes some compounds are able to produce the teratogenicity. Like here, one basic example, Thelimar, which is used in the time of 1950 and 1947 and 1940, and the one enantiomeric form of that drug is responsible for teratogenicity, and still you look in the USA and that countries, the symptom of teratogenicity is still there in the offsprings or the later generations. So they withdraw that drug from the market in the later phase. So that type of thing definitely need to consider when we go for the pre-filtrations. Apart from that, there is some other type of things is also required. Remove certain compound which having a toxic properties. Like that, if you look here, the aziridine is there. This aziridine type of systems is responsible for the carcinogenicity in the human being. So if we take this compound, and then maybe so the activity in the early stage, and if we are not removing this compound and carry forward for the phase 1, first time in man, or phase 2, then the compound may be removed out after phase 2 or phase 3. Then they again put some weightage or some weight in our drug discovery process. So definitely this is again in terms of the certain money losing type of things. So we can able to remove such type of molecule aziridine, or if you look for the nitroso compound, this nitroso compound is also responsible for carcinogenicity or teratogenicity. So definitely we are also able to remove such type of group of moiety which are present in our molecule. Similarly, this nitrosamine, which is also responsible for this carcinogenicity type of things. If you look for the anilines, that aromatic amines, these aromatic amines basically so many times are able to go for the blood toxicity. So definitely we look for this blood toxicity predictions of that type of compound, and if they are able to show the that blood toxicity, then we can remove in the early stage only, but otherwise in later phase they may cause this blood type of toxicity is there, possibilities are there. Similarly, if you look for disulfide, this disulfide linkage is basically responsible for easily the oxidation type of responsibility or oxidoreduction type of reactivity. So we are able to remove this disulfide type of linkage. So such type of filter is necessary to just remove out the unwanted toxic groups from the post screening or that from the screening of that ligands molecules. And later on, if you look for that, the some other type of reactive groups also there. That reactive groups is also need to take considerations when we go for the primary filter, like the hetero-hetero-atom single bond is present in the continuation, like up here if you look the disulfide or peroxide or the azo type of systems or the oxygen type of systems, this type of group is maybe interfere in the later phase, so we can remove such type of groups in the early screening. Then our success is enhanced. Our basic objective is that we can look for the improvement of the success, and ultimately by virtue of this we can able to improve our success. Another thing is that such type of group is there alpha beta unsaturated ketones. This alpha beta unsaturated ketone is again undergo for Michael additions in the our DNA systems, and they may be responsible for certain type of cytotoxicity. So we can able to remove this alpha beta unsaturated ketone type of compound also. Otherwise they may create problem in the later phase. So they may depend what portfolio or what we are looking for, what type of target. According to that we can go for the our primary filters. If we basically try to attack on the cancer cell, then definitely we can go for this alkyl halide derivative, because this is the alkylating agent and they are able to go for the alkylation of the DNA, and by virtue of that they try to deform and they just interfere with the multiplication process of the DNA. So we can consider that. But if we are going for certain specific type of drug which are not related with the cancer or that, then definitely we try to remove this alkylating agent, otherwise they can create the problem. Similarly, if you look for pyridine type of derivative, then pyridine type of derivatives also interfere with certain type of toxicity. And again, if we go for the nitro derivative, then again it create problems. Similarly, here aziridine system is there or epoxide system is there. So it depends what type of portfolio we are using. According to that, we can go for the filtrations of the compounds in our collections, and subsequently we can use for the screening purpose. Then another best, yeah.
Yes, sir. As you told that there are various possibilities that during the preliminary predictions, during the pre-filtration stage, we have to take care of this pharmacokinetic data and to eliminate some of the groups which are toxic and reactive in nature. In spite of this, how we can identify certain false positives after reviewing all these things? There is sometimes some can show that a possible hit identified. So how we can remove these false positives, sir?
Hare, it is a very good question, because this false positive is always create problem when we are going for the screening. And nowadays for this false positive, generally they are using one basic terminologies. They are saying it is a promiscuous hits. And this promiscuous hits is nothing but these are the compounds, a group of compounds which are responsible for the hitting of the n number of target. Okay, and this n number of target is hit by when this compound means ultimately there is the possibilities is that they may have certain type of common group are common moieties which are able to bind with the hot spot which present in the different type of targets or different diversified macromolecule. So if you look for this promiscuous hits, there may be a different reasons for that. The one thing is that this type of compound are may be able to undergo for some type of oxidation reduction reactions, and that oxidation reduction reactions may interfere in your biochemical assay, and by virtue of that they are giving the positive result, but actually they are not inhibiting the enzyme, or they are not affecting, or they are not targeting the protein. At some time some compounds are having capability, they go for quenching of the reactions, and by virtue of that they giving the result, or sometimes they may able to generate their own color, and this own color is able to interfere in the biochemical assay. So this type of things must be considered when you go for biochemical assay. So again here the one thing is that the group of compound also available which are having capability to form a aggregates, and once they form a aggregates, then they may interfere with your biochemical assay, and generally this artifact is maybe responsible for the false positive. So you must able to recognize this type of compound before going to the biochemical assay. Here just I take the one example, like this azo compound is there, and this azo compound is able to go for inhibition of the multiple object, like the CDFHR, where it having a inhibition at that IC50 that on 35 micromole, then beta lactamase it is 5 micromole, then it is beta gal 9 micromole, and then it on chymotrypsin it is 25 micromole. So they are able to inhibit all this type of target, but it is not a real inhibitor, it is a false inhibitors, and definitely there is need to control that type of things. So first thing is that we try to remove the compound which are having capability to undergo for oxidoreductive type of reactions. One thing is that. Second thing is compound having a own color, and that color is not a light one, that is a somehow darkened color. So we try to remove that type of compound. And again the sometimes compounds are that which are go for the aggregation of your proteins. So we are try to remove that type of compound also. Otherwise they may give the problem in the later phase. So here we look for that, and nowadays the few, if you go for the literature, so many literature are available for this promiscuous hit, and on that basis, because still we are having a huge knowledge from our previous invention or research which are done by so many pharma industries or so many researchers, and they published many papers on their findings, and definitely they also published so many papers on this promiscuous hit. So industry persons always keep in consideration of this promiscuous hit from that literatures, and on that basis they try to remove out the different type of compound, so that in the later phase they are not able to interfere as your result. Or sometimes some compound are also having capability to act as a surfactant, then this type of surfactant is also interfere with your biochemical assay. So you also look for that type of molecule when you go for screening of the false positive before starting your biochemical assay. So definitely here the one nowadays the one compound is very common come in the promiscuity, that is the aminothiazole. This aminothiazole that is come as a aminothiazole analogs come as a promiscuous hits because they are hitting randomly so different type of target, and similarly there is huge structure, huge data sets are available in which we have diverse structure which are appear as a promiscuous, so we can remove that type of promiscuity from the literatures, and later on once we remove this false positive, then we can just improve our success, as well as we also decrease the failure in the later phase where cost is the important aspect. So definitely when look for this, we must go for the on the early level, removal of the promiscuous heat. And here the one aspect how we can identify this promiscuous heat, that is I already tell the different way. But the next thing is that the most important thing is that once if you are not removing that, but you go for the biochemical assay, and in that conditions you come with the set of hits, and that set of hits is undergo for the clusterings on the basis of similarity in between the molecule. Suppose we go for the clustering of that on the basis of certain similarity index, we put the similarity index of 0.9 or similarity index of 0.8. So we make clusters. That one cluster is having a similarity index more than 0.8. So in that cluster, we come with the compound of suppose 30 or 40 compounds. And this 30-40 compounds having a common core, but they have the modification in the chemical space or the different R substitutions. And after this different R substitution, if we look for their activity profile as well as the chemical structure. So are there is any structure activity relationship is observed or not? Okay, means if we remove the electronegative group, the activity is reduced or activity is increased. Or if we add electropositive group, activity reduced or activity is increased. Or if we add Wernicke group, then what? They alter the activity. So if there is no pattern is there in the structure activity relationship, and this modification, that thing suggests that this type of scaffold or this type of set which are obtained by clustering is definitely is maybe come under the category of promiscuous heat. So there is no need to go carry forward with these clusters. Just drop the cluster at this level and go for the remaining cluster in the forward direction. So this is the one way by virtue of that we can easily recognize that these are the promiscuous heat or these are the false positive, and on that basis we just screen out this false positive and carry forward the rest of the compound in the forward direction. So the most important thing, we look for the structure activity relationship. If it is there, then we can go for the carry forwarding. If it is not there, then we drop that cluster at this level only. So by virtue of that we get increase the success. Yeah.
Sir, apart from this, if you see chemical structures, we have different possibilities that a single molecule can have different chiral centers. So
yeah,
what will be the implications during our process of pre-filtration, sir?
Yeah, Hari, basically some if you look for some drug molecules may have the many chiral center when we obtain from the natural sources like anti-cancerous drugs or some antibiotic. But actually when we look for the synthetic compound or semi-synthetic compound, in that case the chirality play key role, because ultimately if they are present into more than one enantiomeric forms, means that is depend how many chiral center are there. So according to that, how many stereoisomers are there. So if there is the more than one stereoisomer forms are there, then definitely our body is behave in a different fashion. Why so? Because our body is having that protein or enzyme which is made up of amino acid, and our body is only recognize one type of amino acid. So this protein is also constructed from that type of amino acid, and this whole system making a 3D structure. And when they are making 3D structure, they have the different orientations of group or moiety in the 3D space, and by virtue of that they recognize the complementary segment. So ultimately if the respective ligand also having a chiral center, so in that condition there is the possibility of recognition that is called the 3-point theory. Means out of on the chiral center the 4 group are different. Out of that generally 3 groups are just recognized by the receptor. So if there is the different enantiomer is present, 2 enantiomer like your R and S, then one enantiomer is recognized by our biological system, but another enantiomer is not recognized by our biological system. So here if you look that the some compounds in which case the both enantiomers is able to bind in a same fashion with biological system, so they give the similar activity. But basically in terms of stereochemistry, the here the one thing is that the one enantiomer is bind in some specific fashion while another enantiomer bind in a different fashion, and both enantiomers are showing different pattern of activity to the receptors. And basically here for that we say the active enantiomer are called automer, and the less active enantiomer is called the distomer. This less active, this distomer might be less active enantiomer, or may have the different pharmacological action, or it is completely inert, or it may responsible for toxicity. So here when such type of thing is there, then we look for the the automeric forms, which is more active one. But if you look for the pharmacological point of view, the another problem is arise with that sometimes they are giving severe toxicity. So we have to control them. Like if you look here we take the one basic example, that is amlodipine. Amlodipine is present into two enantiomeric form. The one enantiomeric form, that is S-amlodipine, is act as a calcium channel blocker. But here the another form of that amlodipine is responsible for the adverse reactions, means they may cause the swelling or the water retention. So nowadays in market the specific enantiomers are available for this amlodipine. That S-amlodipine is come, and when the person having a water retention problem, then definitely doctor prescribe them as a S-amlodipine. The same thing is happened if you look for the antihistaminic drug. Again there is the levoform is there and dextroform is there. So we use the levoform, and then in that conditions the dose is just subside, as well as the side effect is also reduced, which is antihistaminic is responsible for sedation type of effect. So that thing is also somehow subside. Similarly here in the previous discussion we just told you that is the one drug which is used in the 50s, that is responsible basically for the morning sickness. But there another enantiomeric form is caused the teratogenicity, and it is withdrawn from the market at that time. They are not aware about the basic issue that is with the enantiomeric form. But later on, when this science is developed, we are aware that one form is responsible for desired pharmacological activity, while the another form is responsible for the teratogenicity. So that type of things definitely consider. So here when we do this type of thing, we try to remove these multiple chiral groups. And apart from this pharmacological issue, the main thing is also arise the synthesis. How we can go for synthesis of this compound. Nature having that capability, they are able to synthesize the specific enantiomeric form or specific stereoisomeric form. But in synthesis or in the wet lab, we are not able to control the synthesis. In that case, in maximum case, we are able to get the mixture, that is acid mixture, means we have the both enantiomeric form in our system. So definitely if we want to purify at this level, we are need go for the chiral column chromatography technique, and that thing ultimately enhance the cost of the drug. So our basic objective that it is available to the last person of the population, and that is only possible when it is available in the economic categories or economic cost. So definitely that's why we are trying to reduce or remove such type of system in the early level, so that later in the later phase they are not interfering or they are not affected our drug discovery portfolio or our drug discovery methodology. Apart from that, still the one type of compound we also remove, in which the so many inorganic atoms are there, like if there is having a many fluoro atoms, then we try to remove this type of compound. And suppose there is the boron is there, then we also remove such type of compound. If the phosphorus is there, then we also able to remove this type of compound, or barium type of thing, then we can remove such type of compound, because we are not look forward in the later phase they may able to produce certain type of toxicity in the biological system. As well as similar thing happen with the halogen. If the multiple halogen atoms is also there, then we try to remove that multiple halogen atom. Apart from that, it's still the one another thing which are considered, that is the insoluble compounds. Some compounds are having insolubility in water as well as DMSO, then their possibility of biochemical assay is not there, so we try to remove such type of compound in the primary filter. Yeah, Hari.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your giving and full insight about on the various aspects of this pre-filtration. Especially if you see that in previous 2-3 discussion forums, we have given and more emphasis on this pre-filtration, especially in the hit identification process. So I think that your continuous discussion will be going on in this drug discovery process, especially on the understanding of the lead optimization and its further process, how we can finally come into a molecule into the market, sir. So I thank you very much. I need your continuous support for this discussion forum.
Yeah, definitely, Hari. I think in the next discussion, we are giving our considerations on the protein, how we can procure the protein, what type of the preparation method is required for the protein when we go for the docking protocol of that proteins, and if there the multiple protein structures are available in the database, then how we can select the appropriate one. That thing we will consider in the next discussion. Yeah, Hari, thanks.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.